This is Money Talks, a podcast hosted by the Job Opportunities Task Force, where our mission, as always, is to help lower wage workers advance to higher wage jobs. I'm your host, Christopher Dews, and let's get into it. In September, JOTF launched its pre-apprenticeship construction training program known as BetterU, set in Baltimore City, designed to train individuals in carpentry, plumbing, and electrical work. With us today to discuss JOTF's newly minted BetterU Construction Training program are the two individuals who built the training program from scratch. One is Monique Boyd, and the other is Charles Harper, our case manager. First, Monique Boyd is the Chief Executive Officer of the Job Opportunities Task Force and is also my boss. Boss, good to have you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the invitation for today.
And we have Charles Harper, the case manager of the Job Opportunities Task Force, who both named BetterU Construction and has been leading on the recruitment and retention efforts, getting the program up and running. Charles, good to have you as well.
Glad to be here.
So, boss, let's start with you. How did you get into the world of workforce development, and how much weight do you put on skills training in the process of securing sustainable employment?
Great question, Chris. So before joining JOTF, my experience has been working in the higher education sector. And so that population that I focused on while working in higher education was non-traditional students. And so non-traditional students can be defined as a veteran, someone over the age of 23, basically a non-traditional student that did not enter into college directly from high school. And so I focused on that population for one. I also was a non-traditional student going into higher education. And then two, focusing around affordability, being a Pell Grant recipient, as well as understanding the impact of borrowing student loans, how that can have an impact on you once you graduate from college. That became my passion in terms of how I administered financial aid as an administrator in higher education. Where my passion interconnected with JOTF is the population that JOTF serves through our BetterU Construction Training program. And so those are individuals who are non-traditional students who deserve the opportunity to have access to low to no cost training programs. And so through our program with BetterU, it also places them on the pathway from low wage to high wage. And so working at JOTF, I'm able to use the experience that I gained in higher education to advance our programming at JOTF. So that is how my pathway came to be as it pertains to JOTF and workforce development.
Charles, you are a lifelong Baltimore City resident and have deep roots to the city, being connected to Safe Streets Baltimore, as well as the Mayor's Office of African American Male Engagement. What drove you to this work, and what do you think most people miss about Baltimore City when they're not from here?
Well, I didn't get drove to this work. This work chose me. I'm always very clear about that. And when I say why it came to me. Growing up in Cherry Hill, you see a lot, right? And while in school and undergrad, we learned something from one of my former teachers, one of my former professors, that, your pain becomes your purpose becomes your passion, right? And so just growing up, seeing family members battle with substance abuse, alcoholism, all those things, and also seeing a lot of children that didn't make it to see a brighter day, right? And so just being one of the ones that made it out gives me hope that there's a better tomorrow, right? And so what drove me to this work is just always wanting better, for my community, always being that voice. A lot of times people's voice gets stolen, and we are the forgotten population, as we always say about Cherry Hill. We're the forgotten ones. And so just being that advocate for the forgotten ones, so what have you. I've been doing this for almost 4 years. JOTF is actually the first organization that I actually applied. Well, not the only, but the first organization that took a chance on me when I first came out of college in 2018. And so I was the original case manager for our former program, and still here.
Thank you both. So let me just go ahead and ask. So the BetterU Construction Training Program centers around three major fields, and it's a pre-apprenticeship construction training program, but it centers around carpentry, plumbing, and electrical work. Why those specific fields? And is there a market for that right now?
we held a study group or focus group, as we call it, with one of our with like 14 to 15 of our alumni. And one of the major questions was, is the construction industry still relevant? Right? We know that we had a lot of success in our previous program or what have you. And so a lot of them now, a lot of the people that have gone and completed the program are now journeymen or journeywomen. Some are now like finishing up apprenticeship school. And so when we heard that there's a huge market, a lot of builders going on, we still have the 21st century for Baltimore City Public Schools need to be completed and things of that nature. We thought, why not, right? But not just make another construction program. We had to think about what will set us apart from other programs, right? Everybody's doing construction training in a different program, but what will set us apart? And so we thought about one, making sure that our material is up to date, right? What is the current thing that's being taught? So we was able to connect with partners, get updated material and things of that nature. We was also able to receive a very gracious donation of some laptops and things of that nature. So we're now bringing everything to 21st century. And then we also thought about, what is that missing piece that a lot of people isn't talking about, right? And that's that social and emotional piece when it comes to our participants and things of that nature, right? And knowing that, a lot of times employers don't know how to communicate with with those that are coming for the job, right? So we put all that stuff together, and this is where we come up with a better you, right? A better you today for a better you tomorrow, right? And then a better you creates a better future, not only for you, but also your family.
And in addition to that, we also conducted a landscape study of what is the job market for the construction industry. And so we were taking a look at what's in demand. So I know, Chris, you asked the question, why those three sectors? And so according to the projection of the BLS, right now, there's approximately 449,000 open positions in the construction sector. That includes the three core that's related to BetterU: carpentry, electrical, and plumbing. So we were also very intentional about not only having a program that would serve the community and our constituents, we wanted to know, is there a pipeline for jobs in these three core areas? And so we basically did that study to ensure that we not are only training individuals, they are not only receiving a certification, but they are also being placed on a job that will lead to high wage jobs.
Thank you guys for those excellent answers. Let me ask you, because when people join a program, they're going to want to know, how much does the program cost?
So at this current moment, as you know, as the great Fat Joe would say, yesterday's prices is not today's prices. Our program is free $99, right? But it costs $8,500 to put someone through the program, right? And do that, you receive everything from materials, your certifications, OSHA, CPR, first aid, and our newly added certification, our Flagger certification. So all that is included in our free 99 program, as well as your stipend that is yours as well.
To that point, this program, again, as Charles mentioned, it is free to our community constituents. But in order to have a free program, we need to have the financial support. And so, having the opportunity to have support from national and local foundations, as well as our private donors, we just want to thank those individuals who invest in JOTF so that we can provide a free opportunity, so that we can provide a free program to our Baltimore City residents. And again, the mission of JOTF is advancing low-wage workers to high-wage jobs. And so that is exactly the purpose of BetterU.
All right, let's talk about the timeline of the actual training program. First and foremost, how long is the training and what are the hours?
Sure. The training is 14 weeks on Tuesdays and Thursdays at our West Side location, which was at the time our highest performing location. That's why we retained that location. On Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's 14 weeks, so you'll get a lot of classroom instructions. Like last night, our guys just started the construction math section and things of that nature. They did real well with that. And so now they'll begin to do like more book work, then eventually they'll do that certification. After certification, this is where we start to do our hands-on portion and teaching them basic entry-level carpentry, electrical and plumbing. So you can't really break down the timeline, but you know, within the 14 weeks, they'll complete what we call our frame wall, right? That frame wall teaches them carpentry, and then they'll run some PVC pipes through that frame wall. That'll be their plumbing. Afterwards, they will then go on to complete like a small portion of electrical and things of that nature. So that's where you'll get your carpentry, electrical, and plumbing within those 14 weeks. Might I add, while we're talking about that, we do one of the things that we also was able to do, go find some amazing instructors, right? And I won't go too much off of it, but one of the things that we wanted to do, we wanted to put instructors in place that understood the population in which we serve, right? We have 2 individuals who work with at-risk youth during the day, teaching them the same skill sets or what have you. We have a former alumni. So altogether, we have like some good years of experience when it comes to what we're teaching our participants or what have you. So within those 14 weeks, they're getting not only a free education, but a good quality education.
What certifications will they be leaving the training with?
They'll be receiving OSHA 10, CPR, first aid, and our newly added flag certification.
Now, I'm familiar with a great many training programs throughout the Baltimore region. One of the issues, you already answered this with regards to, the amount of payment and student loan debt. That's an issue with those. We've already resolved that. One of the other things that I've also noticed is that a lot of companies will train you, but then like once you graduate, you're on your own, just like a regular college. What happens upon graduation for the average BetterU graduate?
Well, like I always tell people that we different because we don't treat you as a participant. We treat you as a family member, right? And we know that a lot of times with family members, sometimes after they get that good job or finish something up, they go away and they feel like that they are able to sustain themselves, right? But one of the things that we do at BetterU, we always keep that door open for you. But one of the things that you also get when you complete the BetterU Construction Training program is that you receive a stipend up to $3,500 towards a used car. Now, like I always tell people, and I always say this jokingly, but I say it truthfully. This is not just some car that's been sitting on your homeboy's front lawn or your homegirl's front lawn. We need a nice used car dealership. You get that as a working a month on the job, because one of the things that we realized that we have to eliminate that transportation barrier once you get the job. And in order to keep that job, we know that one of the things that's always an issue is the transportation, right? Also, once you complete the program, you do receive a bucket of tools, whatever to respect fields that you are going into. Also, one of the things that we realize is that also that you may have been out of work for a long time. So we provide you with the boots, whether you need a pair of pants to go to work, shirt, whatever you need to succeed when you complete the program, we'll give you that. So just because you graduate don't mean that you are done with us. You are now a part of our family away. And as people know about JOTF, our family always comes back. We see a lot of our former participants at a lot of our community events that they come out, support, bring their family. So they know that when they complete this program that, that they're getting, continue to be loved and supported. And that's one of the things that we've always been good at. The barrier removal service on stuff. So whatever we need to continue to keep them in first place, because we already given them a second chance, and now that they're in first place, whatever we need to do to continue to keep them in first place, this is what we will do here at the Job Opportunity Task Force at BetterU. We're their advocates then, and we'll be their advocates later.
And just to add to Charles's point, the intensive wraparound case management support that we provide to our program participants and alumni, make sure that we, one, find them a job, but also that they retain their employment. And so going back to Charles's point about addressing the social emotional component, we first need to figure out what are, individuals' triggers, because what we don't want to have happen is we train individuals and they're no longer able to retain employment once we place them on the job. And so while they're in the program, before we even have them interview with employers, we make sure that we train them to, one, learn about conflict resolution, time management, which is also linked to our stipends that we provide to program participants. If you are late or miss a class, you're not paid. And so our classroom also imitates once you're on the job. If you don't show up for work or you are late, there are consequences to that. And so we wrap ourselves around the program participant to give them that space to make those mistakes so that we can then pivot and course correct before they enter into the workforce. The other part of our intensive wraparound services is just making sure that one, if they're experiencing barriers related to transportation, Charles mentioned that we provide a stipend to purchase a vehicle. But before you can even purchase a vehicle, Charles will then set individuals up who are experiencing issues with their driver's license. We want individuals to be to have valid driver's license before they can purchase a vehicle. And then also while they're in the program, we address credit history through our financial literacy, because we know with driver's licenses and with car insurance, which includes non-drivable factors such as credit history, can increase your likelihood of having expensive car insurance. So while those individuals are in our program, we address some of those barriers that are directly linked to our policy initiatives, because we do not want to, again, have individuals coming through our training program leaving the same way that they entered. And so we know through our research and through our policy advocacy work and through BetterU and our case managers such as Charles, we try to address those pain points and barriers so that, again, aligning ourselves with our mission, advancing low-wage workers to high-wage jobs.
Right, and even more so, and I'll end it on this. And one of the things that we're good, and I always tell people, I don't like to talk to their own horn. We're very proactive when it comes to our participants, right? And that's also with us. That's also with our instructors, right? We we're not in a classroom, so we give them that time to be comfortable with the instructor. So they also having those instructors that are able to pick up on certain behaviors and communicate that with the team, what have you. And so that's just us being proactive, being grassroots or what have you. We're there before the participants, and if we be there afterwards, if it needs be. So always and just being grassroots, right? And just being not. And when I say that is that we aren't afraid to go to those unfamiliar places where they may go at, right? And that's us meeting them where they're at. And as Ms. Boyd said, we meet them where they're at. We let them know by loving on them that, you can't stay here. And we also show them why it's unhealthy to stay there. So taking them from an unhealthy environment to a healthy environment.
All right. So we've talked a lot about, the benefits of being in the program. The question I have now is, what are the requirements to actually get in, right? So what are you looking for when it comes to an individual in the BetterU training program, and what do they need to have?
We are currently and always ongoing looking for motivated individuals who are willing to be a change to themselves for better them, right? But that comes with them living in Baltimore City, having a high school diploma or GED or willing to get one, being able to physically work in the construction industry, being able to pass the drug urinalysis test, or keeping it real with us because we are real individuals, and two, be able to complete an application as well as a math assessment or what have you. Now, I always tell people, don't be afraid of the math assessment. I guarantee you that it's just to see where you are, and I guarantee you we'll build you up as we go along when it comes to that.
Thank you for that. Mr. Harper, now, since I know that you have been leading on the recruitment efforts, this is my question for you. What makes the ideal BetterU candidate?
Someone who's tried and hasn't been successful, right? Someone who has realized that sometimes that they're in their own way and they want to be shown a better way, right? That person that's struck out in life and they just want to get back onto the home plate and hit a home run. And so, you're looking for that expungement services. You're looking for someone to just give you a voice, someone just to encourage you along the way, someone that's going to motivate you to put skin in the game. Because as I tell everybody, we're not going to do all the work for you. You're going to help me out as we help you. So we want somebody that's going to put skin in the game, someone that's going to be committed. And as I always tell people, if you commit to us 14 weeks, I can promise you, if your mind is open, and your heart is clear, I guarantee you that you'll change for a better year. So those are the ideal candidates, right? Someone that's like, I tried my way, it's not working. Let me show you a better way. Come on in and have a seat. We got you.
So here's where things get interesting. So I know that in the policy department, it's all about going to Annapolis and making changes, knocking down barriers to employment. However, it's different when it comes to training programs. You guys have to do that in real time as case managers, as program managers, executive, whatever. The bottom line is you actually have to deal with the individual barriers that an individual has before you can actually place them. So I'm just going to run through a list of those, the ones that we see most common in Baltimore City. And I just wanted to know, what does BetterU, or how do you guys plan on mitigating a lot of these issues? We all know that criminal records can be a massive barrier to employment, housing, education, licensing, and the rest. It's one of the biggest barriers to employment, and anybody who works in workforce will tell you that. Here's my question for you all. What does the BetterU training program do to mitigate that barrier when it comes to placing individuals with employers, or just, being a part of the training program? Will a criminal record stop an individual from being successful when it comes to placement?
One thing I want to shout out is our partners, right? Our partners is also another reason why we are successful in what we do. And the good thing is that we have a great partner when it comes to expungement services that we work with that help us to eliminate that barrier. Also, we have a great job placement guy that also goes out and look for background-friendly employers, right? We also know that construction industry, a lot of their jobs are background-friendly. So we always take an assessment as to, it's always individual-based. And that way, so also when they complete, we're able to know that we can place them in certain jobs, right? We know that sometimes you can't file for expungement to every case that you may have pending is now closed or what have you. Then we also know that you still have to wait to get that expunged or what have you, which you can always come back. Even after the 5 years, once everything is over and you can get expungement, you can always come back home and we'll help you get that expunged. But we always look at the individual themselves and to see what they can do and what they cannot do. So that's another thing, right? So we know that also when our job placement person is going out and establishing these relationships, one of the key questions that he asks is, are you background friendly, right? Now we know some backgrounds are just not acceptable and things of that nature, but knowing that we have a partner, one, that helps us to eliminate that barrier, and two, we have a job placement as well as a policy team that goes out and advocate on behalf of our people, and also allows us to find those great places of employment that provides our participants with a livable wage so that they can sustain their family as well as themselves.
All right, let's talk about education. It is well established that in Baltimore City, at least according to an Able Foundation report, that up to 20% of working age individuals in Baltimore City do not have a high school diploma, right? That's roughly 81,000 Baltimoreans, and it's not necessarily a large city to that capacity. Here is my question. Knowing that formerly incarcerated individuals, which I know that you all do a great job of working with, have a reading level and a math level between 5th and 8th grade, how are we mitigating the education barriers that are going to be required to work in that construction industry?
So we eliminate any barriers to apprenticeships, all right? So we have, like I say, as I mentioned, so one of the things is that we have 2 instructors who are currently teachers, right? And so they know, they not only teach the younger population of which we serve, so they understand the older population. And so those that do not have that high school diploma, GED, again, it's all about having that partnership, right? Having that referral partner, right? So it's also closing that gap, right? We don't provide one thing, but a partner of ours does. So we're making sure that we connect those persons. So if there's a reading barrier, we find them those resources away, right? We able to do assessments through CASA, so we're able to find where they're at as far as reading or what have you. So if we know that they are on a 4th grade reading level, right? We meet them where they are. Again, what we do at BetterU, we meet you where you at, right? And we let you know that you cannot stay there. So we provide you those things so that you are able to advance. And the record has shown that the great success that we've had through our amazing policy team, a program team, as well as our leadership. This is something that we do. We eliminate barriers. Our case managers, we go to bat for our people, right? So that's what we do.
So in addition to Charles's point, about how we address the literacy barrier, ensuring that once individuals are enrolled and admitted to BetterU, if they find themselves not in reading at the level that is required for them to make that transition from pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship, because that's the whole focus of our program, is to take them from pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship. We make sure that we insulate themselves with the services through our partners to ensure that they are reading at the 9th grade level upon leaving the program or graduating from the program, because we know that literacy is important. We need it in our everyday lives. Also, it's critical in terms of the sector for our graduates coming through BetterU. And so we do our due diligence that, as Charles mentioned, meeting individuals where they are, because we don't want to ever turn away someone simply because they are below the reading standards or some of these standards that we require for admissions. We have our intensive case management supportive services and our network in place so that we have that individual who just needs that extra boost and that support behind them. And so BetterU, as well as Charles and the programs team, provide those services to those individuals who find themselves in the position that they just need a hand up. They just need a hand up. And so we do our due diligence in making sure that we have those services available so that they can matriculate through the program and meet those benchmarks, so that when they do enter into the workforce, transition into a pre-apprenticeship program, they have already met those check marks in making sure that they can enroll in the apprenticeship programs. And for some of those who may not want to go directly right after completing BetterU into the apprenticeship program, that's why we have the job services, supportive services available for graduates, just to make sure that if they want to go into the carpentry sector, the electrical sector, the plumbing sector, that they have that skill set to choose from once they depart from BetterU.
Excellent. As you all know, that transportation is a massive barrier to employment in the city of Baltimore. Only 9% of the jobs can be reached within 1 hour one way by public transit, because Maryland is indeed a very regional economy. So let me ask you this, knowing that vehicles tend to be necessary, especially in the construction industry, what do you all do to secure a vehicle and a license for an individual while they are in the training program?
Sure. So while in the program, one, we do pay for them to go to driving school, right? Also, we do have that partnership with Baltimore City and Baltimore County Child Support. Whether we have a non-custodial parent whose license may be suspended or something like that, we're able to work with them to eliminate that barrier as well. Also, if there's any fines and fees from MDA, whether it be like flags or something like that, we're able to eliminate that barrier as well. So again, any barriers to employment, we're able to attack that, whether it be child support, paying for them to go to driving school, providing them with the vehicle to take their driver's test, assisting with fines and fees, any type of letters of support, or anything of that nature, whatever they need when it comes to eliminating that transportation barrier. That's what we do. And again, these are things that we've done, not what we do, but we have done and continue to do. We'll do that or what have you. So whatever we need to do to eliminate a barrier for our participant or our family member, this is what we do. We want you all not to complete our program and go hop over to another one. We are your first and your last resort to employment and sustaining yourself for you and your family.
And to give, additional context to the transportation barrier, as Charles has mentioned, we've given over since for each class, we give about, 5 to 10 cars for each class. And so that is something that has become, a way to alleviate just the barrier about thinking about how I can get to work. And so we know that transportation is a barrier when it comes to employment. We know that sometimes using public transportation is not an option. We've known that, there's been studies on our public transportation system that the on-time rate is not what it means. It is not the on-time rate. It could be 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late. And so if you can imagine, if you are using public transportation and you need a connecting bus or a transfer, if that bus that you were relying on came 5 minutes early and you need to connect to a bus, you're now going to be late to work. And so as your employer, you could be seen as tardy. And so that could lead to unemployment. So we know that transportation for our graduates is a necessity. It is essential. And so we do provide that service and support to our alumni through BetterU.
Wonderful. So you help them secure employment, you give them the skills training, you knock down as many barriers as you possibly can. Here is my last serious question. How does one sign up to build a better you for themselves?
Sure, there's several options. Just get in contact with me by giving me a call, 410-725-8341, or completing our online application, one of the things that we was able to start during the pandemic. Also, just coming to one of our information sessions, either on Fridays at 9 a.m. at Al Daly Braid Employment Center, 725 Falls Way, or on Tuesdays at our Westside location, 4910 Park Heights Avenue, 3 p.m. every Tuesday.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Charles. And lastly, is there anything else that you want people to know, listeners, to know about the BetterU Construction Training Program?
We are a program where you are always first and we are always second. We focus on our mission and not our position. So if you're looking for a program that will always continue to build you up and to put you in the first place, here we are. We always recruitment. We have another class that'll be coming up very soon. After 14 weeks. So again, get in contact with me. I promise you this is an experience that you won't forget. We have some of the best education, best educators, the best case managers, the best advocates. We have the best everything. And I'm willing to toot my horn. And I always tell people that I don't sell this program because I work for this program. I sell this program because it actually works. As you can see, I guarantee you, if you walk on some of these construction sites, you're going to run into one of our alumni and they'll tell you about the great things that JOTF has done for them and continue to do for them. We've always just a phone call away, and that's the type of program experience that you should want. And if that is what you want, here we are.
And also to end with that, thank you so much to Chris and to Charles for having the space for us to discuss JOTF and to discuss our new program, BetterU Construction Training. One of the things that I want individuals to take away listening to this podcast is that, JOTF, we are an organization that has 3 strategies, one of which we are discussing today, which is our BetterU Construction Training. Our first strategy is programming. In addition to that, we have a community bail fund, and that community bail fund was started during the pandemic. And the purpose of it was to bail out individuals who cannot afford their cash bail. And so starting that program, we also infused it with our intensive case management supportive services, in addition, giving those individuals the space and opportunity to enroll into BetterU. And in the event that individual is not interested in construction, that's quite all right. JOTF, again, has the resources to connect individuals to things that they need. So if that is mental health services, whether that is looking into real estate and purchasing your first home, how do you resolve credit history and discrepancies, JOTF has positioned itself to serve the community through our construction training program as well as our community bail fund. The other component to that is research and education. And research and education, it basically helps support the strategies within the organization. And so we make sure we do our due diligence to survey the landscape of the construction industry and other high growth industries so that we can then look beyond BetterU Construction Training in support of the community as well. And then lastly, our public policy and advocacy strategy. We mentioned that throughout our podcast today about how the barriers that our program participants face inform and influence our policy initiatives going forward. And so our policy team that consists of Christopher Dews make sure that the constituents' voices are heard in terms of the barriers that they're facing so that we can then impact and influence and change the laws that are on the books or create a law so that, again, it ties back into the mission of the organization, which is advancing low-wage workers to high-wage jobs.
And as the senior policy advocate of that policy team, I cannot highlight enough how different that makes this construction training program and JOTF than any other force that you've dealt with, right? Individuals come up with a barrier, we do research on those barriers, and then we take it straight to the head, to Annapolis, to try to make changes in the law, not just to benefit our graduates, but to benefit people all throughout the state who are facing the exact same situation. So Monique, Charles, I want to thank you both for being here on this podcast with us today. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll talk to you later. This has been Money Talks, the JOTF podcast, where our mission, as always, is to help lower wage workers advance to higher wage jobs. If you enjoyed this video, let us know by leaving a like, subscribing to our content, or sharing this video with a friend. And do not hesitate to donate to the work of JOTF by clicking the link in the description box below or going to jotf.org/donate. I'm your host, Christopher Dews, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one.